Yo, what's going on, everyone? This is Vitamin the Governor, and this is Talking Rock. In this episode of Talking Rock, we have the pleasure of sitting down with Danny Boy, one of the original members of Dynasty Rockers. He goes through his history with rocking from the early days to coming back now, and his opinion of the rocking scene and what's going on worldwide. Much love and much appreciation for all the support. Keep watching Talking Rock, and hope you enjoy this interview. Peace out.
Yo, what's going on, yo? This is Vitamin the Governor, and we are live here in Brooklyn, New York. Today we have a very, very special guest for you. This dude is elusive. This dude right here has been putting in a lot of work. Unsung legend, and now he's back and in full effect, and today he's going to give us 100% his truth. None other than Dynasty Rockers' own Danny Boy. Danny Boy, what's going on, man?
Pleasure.
First and foremost, before we even get into the interview, I just want to check in with you. How's everything with you?
Everything is good. Working, staying home, take care of the family, doing the family thing.
Living life.
Yeah.
Word, man. This is a long time coming. A lot of people have been asking about you. You're very integral in the early history of Dynasty Rockers, so we got to talk about it. But we're going to go all the way to the beginning. Where were you raised? Where did you grow up?
I was raised and grew up in Bushwick. I've been in Bushwick all my life. My mother moved in everywhere in Bushwick section. Harmon and Central, Bleecker and Wilson, Manhattan and Irving, Stockholm and Irving. Those are the areas from Bushwick. I don't know why my mother chose Bushwick, but this was the area I was brought up, so this is where it was at, Bushwick, yep.
And for people that don't know about Bushwick, Brooklyn, like paint the picture for them. How was the neighborhood at that time when you were growing up?
Rough. They had a lot of gangs out. We all was in gangs. I was in a gang. I was in the Baby Kings on Bleecker and Wilson. And a lot of fights. Outlaws, Savage Skulls, the Rebels, the Baby Kings, the Savage Nomads, this dude Rat Pack.
Now, you said the word gang. You know, today when people think of gang, people wearing rags. You know, they're out there doing certain things. What was the difference between the gangs back in your era and how we see gangs today? Was it more of like a neighborhood thing, or was recruiting from outside? Or was it just for the protection of
your
the
neighborhood? It was actually basically it was all about the neighborhood. You know, if you was at a certain area, that was your spot. Like I was brought up on Bleecker and Wilson, and that was the Rebels and the Skulls at that time. And it was right across the street from each other. Like it was the Rebels on one corner and the Skulls on the other one. So it was, you know, more of a neighborhood thing, you know, protecting the neighborhood basically. That's what they used to do.
Okay.
And I used to live at 173 Bleecker. And in the basement, they used to have a club in the building where I used to live at. And I used to go down there and sneak down there, and my mother used to come downstairs and find me there and whip my ass because she'd be like, "What are you doing down here? You're not supposed to be down here." Because I wanted to be just like them because at that time, that's what the gang was all about. You know, MC boots, leather jackets, you know, cats' tails, cut off the cats' tails and used to put them on their pants.
Wow.
Throw cats off the roof. It was killing so many cats at that time. Like you didn't see no cats. Yeah, they killed a lot of cats, the gangs. And that was Blue Eyes, Cornell, who else? Apache, of course Apache was there. And a few other guys that were there.
Wow. Growing up, going from, you know, childhood into like junior high school, what was the first time that you got exposed to dance?
When I first got exposed to dancing, I was in 162. I used to go to 162 and
In junior high school?
In junior high school. And I was 14 going to be 15 is when it started. And I was in 77, 78. Maybe a little 76, but it's more 77, 78 is when it started. That I remember. I'm only talking from what I know and where I was at. Everybody else, I don't know, but this is where I was. That's when the uprock came out, and everybody calls it rock this, rock that. When I was out there, I never said rock.
Okay.
It was always uprocking. I hear music in the park. Oh, They uprock. Oh, they're playing uprock. They ready to play uprock outside. Oh, I'm going to go uprock. I'm going to the park and uprock. I never said I was going to rock against anybody. I didn't hear that much rock. All I heard was more uprock and burn. I said, yo, Touch of Rock is in there. I'm going to go burn one of them right now. That's what it was. I never said rock. I just want to make that clear out there. I used to say uprock, and I still say it.
So when you first saw what you saw, what did you see, and what was going through your mind when you saw that, like the dance?
Well, when that came out, I was hanging out on Knickerbocker, 441 Knickerbocker. That was the Figueroas. That was Manny, Manny Dynasty, Eddie Puma, Diana, of course, the sister, Samantha, the sister, Olga. That's where I started when I was dating Samantha, and I bumped into Eddie Puma. That was the older brother, and I seen Eddie Puma. He had two big mirrors in his living room, and he used to put on a record because he's the DJ, Phase 2. And when he used to play music, he used to do the hand movements. He was not too much of the jerking, but he was doing hand movements for that song. And I caught that, and I was like, what is this guy doing? And then, but I'm going to take you a little bit further back then.
Okay.
When I was hanging out with the Outlaws, they were dancing also to a lot of Just Begun. It was a lot of Just Begun. There was not that many other songs that we hear right now. It was more Just Begun. And they used to dance against each other with the 1-2 step. They wasn't not jerking, doing hand gestures and, doing this. And I saw that. I mean, that's where it started from there. I wanted to know because I thought they were fighting actually. But they were actually dancing against each other. They used to get all drunk or sniff glue and do their thing. And that's how they used to act. So I was like, oh, but I didn't do the 1-2 step. I didn't like the 1-2 step. So that's when the jerk came out. When I saw Eddie and he was going to the beat, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. But I never, I was moving my feet and I was like, hold on a second. Doom, doom, doom. So I used to go into the mirror and I used to say, yo, Eddie, how's this? You go, all right, good. Now do a hand move, boom. So basically, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to give you the props. It was Eddie Puma. It was the first one that I saw. And he put me on to the dancing, but he did not show me. Everybody from Dynasty had their own style. Everybody was dancing different. Nobody danced the same. So that's what made us even more popular.
So you speak of Dynasty in that when you were coming up in junior high school, you was chilling with Eddie. Wasn't it Eddie Ed?
Puma Eddie.
Puma Eddie. How was Dynasty started? Who were the people in the early beginnings of Dynasty?
So it was me, Manny, Carlos, and Huicho. It was us four because we always used to go to school together.
And what school was
junior
that?
high school.
162?
162.
Okay.
And we always used to go to school together. And one time we were dancing, but it was not out there yet because we was undecided how are we going to come out with this first. Because at that time was a lot of gangs. So we wanted to make sure when we come out with Dynasty shirts or colors as they say it is, we want to make sure we don't got no problems with any of the gangs.
Okay.
And that time was we snuck out of school, we went to the movie theaters, the Ridgewood Theater on Myrtle Avenue. Me, Manny, Carlos, and Huicho, we all snuck into the movie theaters and we saw a karate movie. It was called Dynasty 3D. It was a 3D karate movie. That was the first time any 3D movie ever came out in karate. So we sat there, we watched it, and it was like Dynasty. And the beginning of the movie, it tells you the title, Dynasty 3D, and what Dynasty meant. And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at what it says. Ming family to take over the country and soldiers. I was like, that's us. We want to take over the neighborhood and the dancing. That's us right there. So we left the movie theater, we went to Carlos' house, and we all just decided, let's do Dynasty. Let's do Dynasty Rockers. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have no other name. We didn't think of any other name. Dynasty just came out alone. We just stood with Dynasty. And then I said, yo, look it up. Look up Dynasty. Look up Dynasty. Well, that's going to be our name right there.
And when you came up with that name, like, what did each member bring to that crew? Like, what was each person's role in that crew? What did they...
Well, Eddie Puma was supposedly the DJ. Manny was the freestyler. He was not a burner. Carlos was more of, if you need him to back you up, he's going to be there. Like, he's the one that's in the back and he sees you dancing or whatever, but he'll come out and see like other guys try to jump in. Like, he'll come out of nowhere and just come out all fast, and then everybody just gets out the way when Carlos would dance, you know? We used to call him 78. You know, back in the days, the record's 45, 78. We used to call him 78 because he was so fast.
Yeah.
Oh, he goes, Carlos, 78. And, you know, he just come out and everybody just gets out the way. Nobody wants to dance against him, you know? And me, I was the burner. I was the one that was outside there. I was the one going to the parks. I was the one that was dancing against everybody. I didn't want to be no Latin cimbale. You know, I just want to put that out there too because they came towards me. I didn't want to be like that. I did routines. I didn't like it. I didn't like routines. I like to dance against other guys. I like the burning. I like to make the person look so stupid that I take his shirt, I take his sneakers, I take his girl, whatever the case may be. The freestyling with two guys, I don't know. You know, like I said, I won like 2 contests with Manny, Dynasty Manny, and St. Martin's. But I was more into the burning. That was more my thing.
And in that time period, you just formed this crew. It's the early days of the crew. Like, where were you getting your inspiration from? Like, how were you creating your moves? What were you practicing with each other and saying like, oh yeah, do that, or you do this?
Where
were y'all getting your inspiration?
never practiced together.
Whoa, okay. Never?
It was never. I don't remember practicing with any of them. Going to a park or doing it in the house, or unless I'm doing a routine with Manny. Okay. Yes, that was it. But everybody was doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? So nobody wasn't. I wasn't burning or dancing against Carlos or dancing against Diana or whatever. Everybody just was out there doing their own thing. Like I said, everybody was in their own little areas, but I chose to stay in Bushwick and go to every school and every park in Bushwick area.
Okay.
And dancing against every group that's out there. That was my goal. I don't know what was theirs, how far they wanted to take it, because I think Manny went to Latin Cimbales or whatever it is. Then he had Eminem line he did. He was more of a routine guy.
Okay.
I can give it to him. He used to do his thing on his routines, you know. But as far as out there dancing and putting Dynasty on the map, I did all that.
Okay. So in that era right there, you're saying you're going from school to school, park to park. What was like that first time that you encountered other dudes in battle? Can you remember your first real battle?
My first real battle?
That you remember that you did and you was like proud of yourself.
My first real battle was in 116 on Grover, Knickerbocker. I was dancing against my ex-partner. His name is Black Tony. I seen him dancing on the dance floor and I was like, wow, he's different. Like I never seen, he did the jerk, but his up and downs were different. And his burning was really good. He used to really, really burn you. Like, he didn't care. And like I said, when I go to one of those places and if I feel like I see that you're in charge of the crowd, I'm going for you. I don't care who you or group you are. If I see like the crowd, oh yeah, I'm already going through the crowd. I'm trying to get you so I can take over that crowd now. And usually that will happen. Anyway, back to Black Tony. I saw him dancing and he was on the line, Apache line, of course. And I started dancing against him, but we didn't get to battle hard because the guy that was teaching him was a good friend of mine.
So it's kind of like a friendly.
Yeah, so he was like, yo, D, what are you doing? Yo, Danny boy, what are you doing? I was like, you know, I never seen him before. I know he's from Putnam and Irving. I don't know if he was in a group or whatever the case may be. And I just wanted to go after him because that's where the crowd was at, looking at him. He was a new face, a new style. And I said, I'm going to go for this guy here. And we started dancing against each other. And he gave me competition maybe for like 2 songs. And then that's when this guy came. I think his name is Jamie. Jamie came and he was like, yo, what you doing, Danny boy? This is I want you to introduce you to him. I didn't want you guys to go against each other. And I was like, all right, cool. So he said, yo, Black Tony, Danny boy, and he became my partner. Ever since that, he became a dynasty off the top. I just grabbed him and I put him under my wing. and we went all over, me and him.
Word. So at that time, you go into the parks, you go into the different events, the basement parties, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
The St. Barbara's, Transfiguration, all of those places. How were battles contested back then? Today, you sign a paper, they call your name. How was it back then? Did you go in a park? Did your crew line up? Because you said Apache line, so even you had that terminology back then. How did the battles take place back then? The raw ones and the organized ones. How was it?
Basically, you would just hear the music coming from Linden Park, and his music was so loud, whatever his name was, DJ Amp, or I'm not into the DJs thing. I was just more into just the dancing. I didn't pay attention to the crowd, who's playing music or who was out there. I just wanted to dance, you know. But I knew who they were though, because they knew who I was, and it was just getting online and dance against anybody.
So you literally just stepped in front of someone?
Just whoever it was. It doesn't even matter. It didn't even matter. If I see that you're dancing similar to the way I used to dance, I want to know who you are.
Okay.
And then I should dance against that person. I danced against a female. Her name was Maritza. She was no joke and danced exactly like me. A female exactly like me. And we just started dating, and then one thing led to another. But that's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I'm going to the jams, and I would just get on the line. I don't care who it was. I should tell everybody, if I'm gonna say, look, I'm gonna dance, don't get next to me because I don't want to go against you. Like Black Tony, I said, yo, go four people down. Or Manny, go over there. Carlos, go down there. Because whoever's around me, I don't want to know who they are, and I'm going against everybody. Because I like to take the crowd. That's how it was at that time. Now, organized, when I went to and I won a contest that Touch a Rock was throwing. And they were throwing an uprock contest, and there was a whole bunch of guys there, and it was MTC. It was MTC and it was Dynasty. It was Manny, Clarky, Dynamic Spinner Clarky, what's his name? Legs, or whatever you want to call him, from MTC. I'm sorry, Rocky Nelson. That was his name, Rocky Nelson. And it was me, Black Tony, and a few other guys. So at that time, they was like, tap you on the shoulder, and you got to get off the floor if they don't like your style, or you ain't doing your thing. So it was a number thing at that time. So it was a number that whatever you want.
Were you on the line, or were you just dancing individually?
Well, it was Apache line also. Okay. We were on an Apache line.
So it says you knocked down each person till the two.
Until the final. And my number, which I have in the closet, my number was 000. I said 3 zeros. That's what I wore on a T-shirt. I'm on a T-shirt on a piece of paper on my back. And then whoever other numbers, wherever they pick. So the guys would walk around, it was Touch a Rock, and none of the Touch a Rocks joined. That's another thing I gotta make clear. When you throw in an up rock jam, the guys that's doing it not supposed to be in that up rock dance.
Okay.
If you're throwing it, none of the guys that from your group's supposed to be in that dance because it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But Touch a Rock, nobody in Touch a Rock was in it, which I was hoping they was, but nobody was there. It was everybody else was out there. Faisic, MTC, One on One. Who else was there? It'll come to me soon. And that contest there winded down that it was me, Rocky Nelson, Manny Dynasty, and Clarky. We was the last 4 on the contest. So I didn't want to go against Manny because he's a Dynasty.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go against Clarky because, he was a dynamic spinner. We was cool like that. So I had to focus on Rocky Nelson because he was an MTC. And our MTC was a good group. And he was the best out there that I know of. So that's why I was going for him. I make sure I got rid of everybody and got him closer to me that I know he's going to be right here. Until that happened. And make a long story short, I won the contest. Manny, they took Manny out of there. They took Clarky out, and it was just me and Rocky Nelson. Mind you, I was going to a club to go hang out, and I was with a girl, and I had shoes on, slacks, and long shirt with button-down shirt with big collars, and I went in there and I put my pants inside my socks, so I don't fall off. Cause you know you have the bell bottoms.
Yeah,
big time bell bottoms, bro. So I just stuck in my socks, and I said I'm gonna go dance against this guy, and I won with shoes. And once I took Rocky Nelson, that's when I was like, that's it. I can take everybody else now because he was out there doing his thing. Everybody knew Rocky Nelson.
So you mentioned, these crews, MTC, Touch of Rock. Who were the heavy hitters at that time besides Dynasty for you?
When I was out there, it was a lot of Touch of Rock because it was a lot of them. Mind you, there was probably like 6 dynasties out of the group. We didn't just pick anybody. You had to be good to get into the dynasty thing. And nobody wasn't that good out there like us because everybody was dancing the same. The 1-2 step going down, the 1-2 step. Not many of them was doing jerks. Jerks is really hard to do. And, you got different styles with jerks, And everybody had a different jerk. Yeah, Touch of Rock was out there, and MTC was out there when I was outside, and not so much dynamic spinners. But that's a whole different story with them.
But those two, you say, will be the heavy hitters.
Yeah. Once you go to the parks, you would see them there waiting to hear that up rock. And usually they play like a slow jam. Once they play the slow record, you'd be like, oh, the next record is up rock jam. Get on, everybody's already on the floor, already clapping, waiting for that song to come on, whatever it is.
Word. So, MTC, Dynasty, Touch of Rock was holding down, you say, Bushwick, Brooklyn area.
Yes, yeah.
Were you able to go outside of the Bushwick area? Because you mentioned Faison, you mentioned other crews. How was the landscape of rock throughout Brooklyn?
Well, I started going to East New York because there was a lot of groups in East New York.
Okay.
And make a long story short, I started going to Frank and K Lane in East New York.
Yeah.
And Dynasty was still out there, and I was still dancing. And I used to stand in the corner on my lunch and start dancing, and they wanted to know who I was. When I told them that I'm Danny Boy from Bushwick, there was a rumor going around saying they're going to cut my legs off if they catch me.
In East New York?
In East New York. And that's a true story. I don't want to mention the guy's name that started the thing, but that's a true story. And I didn't believe it at one time.
Okay.
So then there was a uprock contest in East New York. Being that was said, I said, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go and play myself and go to East New York and get problems with these guys. But Diana went, Manny went, Chop went, Samantha went. All the dynasties, a few dynasties, the girls went. And when they went to this jam, they started playing rock, and then the guy grabbed the mic and they locked the doors. And they were like, turn the music off.
Wow.
Anybody here from Dynasty is going to get it. I want Danny Boy. So make a long story short, they did that because they told me the story, Manny and all of them. They ran to the train, they beat them up. And they
girls and everything?
Pistol whipped them and everything.
Wait, we got to pause right here real quick because for y'all that don't know, our New York City audience, you might know, but really break down what East New York was. People don't, if you're not from New York, you don't know what East New York was one of the most gulliest neighborhoods, high murder rate, real deadly to be out there, even in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. You could even say even now to a degree. So continue the story, but let the people know what East New York was about back then.
East New York at that time, when the dancing was around, they were rough. They were rough. You couldn't just go over there, and there's a whole lot of them. It's just not 3 or 4. Let me make a long story short. They have a White Castle in East New York on Atlantic Avenue.
Yep.
Right. Across the street, they got those little projects, 2-floor projects, right across the street from Atlantic Avenue from White Castle, which is, I forgot, Crescent, whatever it is, I forgot the name of the place. I was at a club, Studio 54, I met a girl. She took me to her house. She lived in that neighborhood right there. I went inside, hung out with her, whatever. When they woke up, I bumped in, her brother was like, "Who are you?" And I introduced myself. I said, "Oh, I'm Danny Boy from Bushwick." And this thing goes, "You Danny Boy from Bushwick?" He ran out of the place. This is a true story. He ran out of the place. When I looked out the window, I seen like 100 guys coming to get me because Dynasty. I was like, "Oh, shit." So I jumped out the second floor window. This is a true story, bro. I jumped out the second floor window. I ran across the street from Atlantic Avenue, ran into White Castle, and told them, "Please, please, please, let me hide in here because these guys are coming." I went behind, jumped over the counter, and I stood behind there, and all of them were around looking for me. That's a true story. That's how East New York was at that time.
Wow.
Like Dynasty, you can't say my name or Dynasty. It was a big thing.
So
They didn't like anybody from Bushwick.
Saying that how was rock in that? It was that important that you couldn't, like, with your name of your crew, you couldn't go to another neighborhood.
Right, because they violent. Like
that mean that the rock meant that much when you burn people.
Yes, personal.
Talk about that. Talk about how much rock meant and what losing meant and what winning meant. Because
winning meant everything, and I wanted everything at that time.
So did winning like bring prestige to your neighborhood? Was it that type of thing where
everybody was like, "Yo, you from Bushwick?"
When you're beating someone, it's like you're shitting on their neighborhood.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it
of
like
course.
That type of thing.
And getting their girls.
Okay.
It was more of the girl thing also.
So it's real personal.
Very, very personal. Like you couldn't date a girl from another group. Like it was forbidden for you to date a touch a rock girl. Like you couldn't do that. And I used to do it, but they never found out until, the long run that, but it was that, like they couldn't come to Dynasty with the girls, any group. Like we wasn't having that either. But back to East New York, they were real serious. Like if they lost, like they'd take your life. Like if they lost a battle, that's how deep East New York was. Yeah, I'll tell you that shit right now, bro.
Man.
Yeah, bro. So like I said, when you're saying you was a Dynasty at that time in East New York, trust me, you better hope you got a lot of people at Dynasty back you up because them East New York guys out there, they were rough. They were rough. I mean, Bushwick was rough also.
Yeah.
But that's for them to come to us, which they never did that. And no many contests that I was in, I never seen no East New York there because they already know. It was Bushwick battling everybody in Bushwick. You know what I'm saying? Any outsiders, you got problems because you're not from out there. I went to the city. I went to roller skating rings. It was always an issue. I always got into problems. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep it Bushwick and just go against the whole Bushwick and just make this Dynasty, battle everybody in Bushwick. And I want to take everybody in Bushwick now.
Man, that's raw. That's rough. It's like back then when you was rocking, you was putting your neighborhood on the line. You was putting yourself on the line. It was a very serious thing.
Yes, it was.
To keep it in that era, so 76, 77, 78, you're going to the parks, you're going to the different jams, you're doing your thing. But at the same time this is happening, kind of like hip-hop is kind of being born, quote-unquote hip-hop. Did you see any of that? I know, because when you guys were throwing the jams in the parks in Brooklyn and you were rocking, do you consider that a part of hip hop or do you consider that its own thing?
I consider that own thing. It's not a hip hop thing. It was not a breakdancing thing. It was a whole different category. Uprock was burning, jerking, freestyling. It was a whole mix of everything. The breakdancing, which is cool, but I just didn't like at that time, we was all like cuties and shit, so we didn't want to get our clothes dirty and break on the floor and stuff like that. We used to just keep it on top, you know.
So in that era, when you was seeing that, you was kind of like, "That's cool," but this
Yeah,
is what we
that
do
ain't
here.
me. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not dirtying my clothes.
Okay. So at that time, like going into that era, you already mentioned some intense battles in the parks. You went over to East New York. You going over here, going that. Going into the 80s when the music is popping, everything's popping, the movies start coming out, all that stuff starts coming out. How was that era for you? Like, let's say 78 to 82, 84. How was that era for you?